Hello everybody, I'm High Treason, and you might wonder who's holding that camera. Well, it ain't me. I bought a tripod, and I also bought a new camcorder to go with it. Yeah, I don't have that no more, and you might be sitting there wondering, well, High Treason, you must surely be using a different one, because this video looks even shitter than usual. What's all these weird lines all over everything? Well, that's a bit of a long story, and I'd rather not go into it now, but there's a link in the description if you want to know more about that. Well, anyway, this is my overview of a 486DX4100 system that I have. It's a long time since I did a system overview video, but I'll give this one a go. This is not really a particularly remarkable system, but it is what it is, and it's worth looking at for something to do, I suppose. I've actually managed to get quite a lot of videos done just lately as well, and I'm not sure how long I can keep doing that, but I'm going to ride that for as long as I can.
I suppose we should get on to talking about the computer now. This is Amy. It's an ex-army computer with a lot of miles on the clock. It is not named after the Sonic character, so the fairies can stop getting excited and go away. It used to control a group of very similar machines, and it has an AMD Am486DX4100 CPU, as well as an MSI motherboard, which was made before they were considered a joke, mostly because nobody had heard of them yet. Let's take that lid off. Inside, it's fairly standard except for a few things. Firstly, there are PCI slots inside, and this model came with an S3 Trio 2MB PCI card, which would have been considered a fairly decent card at that time. It'll almost certainly be enough for anything this machine will do, aside from maybe CAD or some other specialist applications. There are 256 kilobytes of cache memory installed, as well as 32 kilobytes of tag RAM. Here is the drive caddy. It's held in place by two screws and it slides out, at least if you remove the front panel. This houses a Seagate hard drive at the moment, but I believe this model had a Western Digital caviar in it when it left the factory in India. A lot of plastics used in the case exterior, but the cases themselves are actually surprisingly strong, especially compared with certain other cases, which is a really good thing because this one had a hell of a beating before I got it. I have a suspicion the cases might have been made by Mytac. The monitors certainly were, that and it says it right here next to the unused turbo LED. There's a label here showing the original configuration of the expansion cards. The system takes EDO memory only, which is better than SIM, and that wasn't uncommon on earlier 486 motherboards. I don't know how much it will support, but it seems to be okay with the 64 megabytes that are in there, although it only had 8 megabytes when it came to me, so I have a suspicion this might have been the default. Sitting here is an Ethernet card. It's just a Realtek 8139, more on that later. A much more interesting card is the Sound Blaster Pro 2 LMSI, model CT1620, or is that 1680? Who knows? It lives in the ISA slot there. What is LMSI? Well, it's a CD-ROM interface. You see, there was a time when everybody seemed to be getting in onto this new technology called CD-ROM, and there were many different interfaces around. Usually this was on the sound card. Creative even sold bundles, and likely others did. Philips probably did, as I believe this was their system. If you have one of these drives, I'd be willing to consider buying it off you for a reasonable price. As far as I know, this was the first Sound Blaster to use a YMF262 as opposed to a YM3812 FM synthesizer chip, though there are only minor differences in sound, and I'm going to completely blaspheme by saying I prefer the 262, although quite a lot of people seem to like the 3812. However, keep in mind my opinion comes from a man who grew up on an ES688. I would have bought a Gus personally anyway. The SB Pro also had stereo sound and an improved MIDI interface over the previous revisions. It's not a card that actually came in the computer, so you can write that off of the actual spec list the thing had. There's a Mitsumi quad-speed CD-ROM drive, and there's not much to say about that, aside from the machine didn't actually come with a CD-ROM drive installed, so I imagine it was probably a budget computer. I think that just about covers everything for the inside the machine. The machine starts like any other, aside from the PC speaker sound when counting the memory. It sounds rather unenthusiastic if you ask me. A notable feature is AMI Win BIOS. This thing was like a GUI for your BIOS. It even supports a mouse. The motherboard has IDE detection as well as some power management. The 486 era made a lot of advancements in a very short space of time, making computers from that era quite diverse. If you've ever wondered, it's actually my favourite generation of hardware, and you can keep your IBM 5150 and system requirements labels as far as I'm concerned. I prefer stuff that actually does something. This machine can do a hell of a lot. I've installed MS-DOS 6, although I have a suspicion the Army might have been using NT 3.5 and later upgraded to NT 4.0 server on this machine, which did run surprisingly well when I tried it out. I think people who watch this probably know a bit about DOS, so we'll mess with that later. If I type Win, I can start Windows for Workgroups 3.11. System can start faster than this, but it's trying to communicate with my DHCP server, which has an attitude problem and takes a while to respond if it bothers at all. According to Microsoft, I need 4 MB of RAM to do this. Windows is also as you'd expect here, except you might notice the colours a bit different to most people's videos due to me actually bothering to install a video driver. What is different is the TCP/IP stack. This actually allows me to share folders, files and printers with other systems, and it works surprisingly well. As you can see, Alyssa, Windows XP workstation, just wrote a file to this directory. I suspect that the 100 megabit Ethernet card might be hitting a bit of a bottleneck somewhere here. Anything's better than a 10 meg coaxial I started out on, I suppose. Here's a quick tip. Your ISP loves to sell you megabits, but remember there are 8 bits to a byte, and so 8 megabits is only 1 megabyte. Well, minus some overhead on a network of that size. A capital B means byte, a lowercase b means bit. Itsy bitsy and big bytes. If they use a capital B or actually use the word byte for your internet speed, you might be able to get some money back due to false advertising. Speaking of bytes, of course I'm stuck with stupid 8 megabit ADSL whilst the rich people get fibre, so my bills increase to pay for that. Oh, and they got free installation. We won't by the time it gets here apparently. We've only got one ISP. Yeah, where was I anyway? This is a tangent. Oh yeah, that's Windows anyhow. DOS is far more interesting. The computer can run most games from this time, including Commander Keen and Dark Forces. You could run Duke 3D, but it might slow down at times as the build engine really benefits from an MMX-capable CPU, like the Pentium MMX and later. Doom flies though. Don't know if you knew, but it can play Quake rather decently. Stupid game. As I think we all know by now, no Gus, no demo. There are demos that do run though, such as Crystal Dream surprisingly, and others from that time. Occasionally I get an out of memory in Second Reality, but I have a feeling that's probably down to me not really bothering with the configuration. Any program that wants the stupid sound driver loaded is bound to do that, and I'm glad people on the demo scene had the sense not to even use that. Demos from this time are really interesting as a lot of innovation was happening all over the world. Seriously, if I wanted something coded, I'd sooner hire a bunch of sceners than somebody from the industry. I think that covers the software side of things. Machines from this time have a wide range of compatibility, rivaled probably only by K62 era machines. If I tried everything it was capable of, we'd be here until Christmas, which would make Duke Nukem happy. This is the first time I've used a script for one of these overview videos. Now I'm not sure whether everybody's going to like that, and if there's enough demand I might go back to being unscripted on them, but I'm not promising it because I think this way is far more efficient and I can have a much more detailed and organised look at what's in the machine. It makes it a bit easier to digest the information than me just rambling aimlessly. I've also noticed that YouTube
might be introducing some pay-to-watch BS. I can assure you I will not be standing for this on my channel. You're never going to have to pay to see my content, nor am I accepting partnership. I have been offered. That's BS in my opinion. Complete and utter bullshit. I'm not doing it. If you see an ad next to my videos, that's down to copyrighted music. And how the hell are you supposed to trust an organisation that flags second reality as containing copyrighted music, which is from like 1997 or something? Demo was made in 93 if you don't know, and if you don't know, you should. You really should. Everybody in the PC knows that demo. Yeah, I'll put a link to what they thought it was in the description there, along with one to little explanation about that camera, or at least some of that should help you to understand what's up with that camera. Yeah, I promise you I'm not going to sell out anytime soon, if ever, and pretty much promise I'm never going to do it. It goes against what I stand for. But that little tangent aside, that was the machine. I hope you've enjoyed this video, because if you didn't, I don't know why you've watched until the end. And I thank you for watching it, regardless of whether you enjoyed it or not. I'm High Treason, and I will see you again shortly, hopefully.